Welcome. This is the next episode in a very long series. Try to make that a dramatic intro and zoom out. Welcome to the Blank Canvas. This is a branch catalog focused on accessibility around scraping. This is the second episode in a series, pretty much breaking down no nonsense, how to make use of it, how to actually build something of real utility out of it. If you're not familiar with scraping at all, I highly recommend starting at the top of the playlist, which is linked in the channel, as well as in the description notes, along with anything else that would be relevant here. So, where do we begin? The first place, just to kind of give you guys, just to repeat, bring us back into it. There are two key approaches to scraping, right? The first pillar is we don't know who the person is, but we want to do some market research. We're pulling from all these different social media feeds, different resources, different pockets of the community to basically enrich and figure out more about our ideal customer persona, our ideal client persona, right? The person we're trying to reach out to. The second pillar assumes we already know who that person is, and then we're going and we're digging and finding out that information. The reason why I start off reiterating this is I think if you're in the boat where you've heard about scraping before, you've probably heard it been used in this context. And you're like, great, that's fantastic. But what if I don't know who I'm going to reach out to? So I think it's important to kind of start off with playing the field as much as you can in order to really understand what problems you're trying to solve. So today, we're going to begin with diving into the Twitter side of things, good old X. Now, at first, this can look like a lot, and it can seem overwhelming. Using no code, we're able to actually pull apart all these different bundles and really make sense of it. So, what are some best practices for doing so? So the first tool that we'll be making use of is called Apify. So Apify, I say app sometimes. It's Canadian in me. I'm actually dual citizen with the US. It's funny. Anyways, so full stack platform for web scraping. What this allows you to do is you get $5 of free credit when you sign up. I thankfully have a client paid account already, but you do get $5 just to start off. The way the pricing works on this one is really interesting. So the way that you spend your money in the platform is through these usage credits, right? So off the bat, you get $5 to play around and test. And I also have an affiliate in the description for you to kind of explore and play with that. Different tools kind of have a breakdown per compute unit, and I'll explain what that means in a bit. If you do buy a plan, right, so an actual monthly plan, it goes into your account as credits that you can use. And then you also get a discount on the marketplace of the different scrapers that are available. So as you can see, there's a number of them, over 5,000 actors, that you can kind of play with and test with. For our sake and purposes, we're focusing on Twitter today. So I'm going to be focusing on these two specific ones. Before I dive into that, I just wanted to allude as well, there is an alternative approach that you can explore using Airtop.ai. So Airtop is another tool that I thankfully have an affiliate with. They offer 5,000 free credits that you can go and explore and play with. They have out-of-the-box ready automations that you can kind of use to go ahead and scrape. There we go. So, for example, I have a full category here dedicated to social media. And yeah, tons of stuff like go to Twitter. There's the comment one. There's extracting comments, monitoring relevant posts, responding automatically with human in the loop, things like that. And there's a number of ways. This will be a future episode. I mainly use this tool for the second pillar. But for the first point with Apify, let's pull in the exact tools we're using here. So the first one, let's open these up in new tabs. The first one is a pay-as-you-go kind of style. It's really fascinating, truly. Basically, the way that it works is you have a pay-per-event style. Like I mentioned, depending on the account you have a specific discount to that. And you pay per result, pretty much. in this case and purpose, we'll go through it, just kind of show you what you get. Let's do a simple hard number of 100 tweets. What terms am I going to look for? Again, you could do as many as you'd like, but for our sake and purposes, we're just going to do artificial. You know what? Let's just do scraping. See what we get. You can do this by filling out this little, box by box, or if you're more of a technical guy, which I can walk through in a bit, is you can use JSON to describe a output that you would like, in terms of formatting and all that, which is really great in the automation world because if you can predetermine how things kind of come out, you can also predetermine how they go in, kind of like an assembly line. Think inputs and outputs, right? So from here, you can scrape, you can filter through top, latest, as you would when you actually log into X. You can set the dates if you'd like. You can set it by specific users if you'd like. And runtime is generally the same thing. What's happening here on a very simple level, throw back to the camera for this one. If you can imagine, there's this concept called middleware, right? Where before, people would have scripts and they would run it locally on their device, right? They would have Python basically crunching through thousands and thousands of posts or whatever it is. And that would take, obviously, a lot of processing power. So now, using platforms like this, right, and there's a number of them that exist. Hugging Face is another one, specifically for language models. What it does is it outsources the processing where it all takes place at some, distant data center, maybe in Austin, Texas, who knows. And they handle all the processing and then just send you back the result, right? Pretty straightforward. You can use this pretty much across the board. Like I mentioned, Hugging Face with language models. If you're a gamer, AAA games kind of deploy this thing where they do a lot of the processing in their cloud data centers because they can afford that enterprise setup. Whereas with us, it's a bit of a different story. So out the box, let's go ahead, save and start. See what happens here. So the actor is going ahead, digging up the data, right? Keeping it very simple. And then, you get a kind of idea here. You set a maximum cost, good old breakdown of what's actually going on here. And here we go. It's pulling all of the information, as you would, within a table, showcasing the retweet count, the reply count, the like count, quote count, the created date. And like I mentioned, you can throw that into a JSON format. Now, for some people, this can look overwhelming, but I want to be very, very simple with it. JSON is JavaScript object notation. So I believe that's the exact one. Did I get that right? What does JSON stand for? This is clearly at the top, by the way. JSON stands for JavaScript object notation. Boom. So what it is, it actually gave me a definition, is pretty much a lightweight, coding language, I would say, that allows you basically to assign key value pairs. And without getting too technical into the whole coding side of things, it assigns a value essentially one by one to different data points. So reply count has an integer, right? I created that has a date format. Text has a string format and the occasional oddball emoji. And that's pretty much it. So you'll see it kind of happening over and over. It's pulling. I only pulled 100 tweets this time, so you kind of have the idea. So that is pretty much how this runs. Now, how do we actually use it for, what we want? You can export it here as a CSV, right? If this was actually the data points that you're looking for, or you can, actually export the JSON, use it in that way too. Before diving into how to better prepare the search criteria, I figured to kind of showcase the second tool that API Dojo offers for Twitter. This one is a different model. So paid per result, 40 cents per 1,000 tweets, right? So 30 to 80 tweets per second, which is really great, ideal for research, entrepreneurs, and business. Really comprehensive, which is fantastic. The way this works is you feed it search feeds, your actual Twitter URLs that you're digging up, which I'll do in a second, search terms as you would, and pretty much just like the last one, you're filtering through the tweets. This one's a bit more extensive because you can even, filter by the video, images, language, query wizard, as you will as well, geotagging stuff, getting a radius, really in-depth kind of search engine, if you can imagine here. And then run options is also pretty similar to before. So this is really cool. For our sake and purposes, I'm just going to do 10. Let's run this. I like how it's set up already, actually. So we're just going to go ahead, hit save and start. See the actors doing the work. Up to you if you want to share your privacy data. I don't mind. I'm not using it for anything too, private or crazy. But as you can see, real time, what's happening here, it's going ahead, it's doing that digging, and really within less than 5 seconds, I think it was. Hold up, I need to sneeze. Okay, I paused and unpaused. I appreciate your patience watching this. I almost blew the mic out. So there we go. Pulls the text, pulls the information. It's all relevant, right? Shows if it's a retweet, if it's a quote. And you get an idea here between the different reply counts, like counts. I think you can even adjust it to really showcase. One thing I didn't show on the other one too, is you get a log here. If you're a technical guy and you want to see what's happening with the script in the back end, this is only really the visual side of things. So you can see it creates a virtual container, pretty much executes its own, crawling setup using Linux. So you don't have to do any actual setup of this yourself. It all handles it on the back end as its own system. And as you see, right, this is the input that we gave it, right? And we saw the output. You can have the data set that you can kind of play with, do as you will, and make use out of. So how do we actually use this for what we want? I'll show you. So there's a few ways, and it's important to think about it as I noted that signal mentality. Now, how do signals work? You usually have something monitoring, creating monitors. Let's rewind that. So usually how this works is you have these things called monitors. Now, when I say monitors, you're thinking of like a screen. It's more of a digital monitor that looks for signals. What are those signals? Take a lot of shapes, and I'll actually dedicate full videos to kind of breaking each of these down. So the first one is extracting tweets and trends, right? Just like I showed you, you're looking for keywords and you're streamlining them into a specific Google Sheet that you can review, look at, and then draw insights from. The next step from that is hashtags. So you can look for hashtags that actually have high engagement, and you can do that in seconds, right? I showed you less than 5, and that has a lot of insights, and I'll show you different examples of that. The third one is a brand mention. So if there's a specific company, specific brand that you're looking to see how well are they performing in terms of conversation on Twitter or really any social media. But for Twitter's purpose, that's a monitor you could set up. A really useful one, which I'll also set up live, is a sentiment a sentiment analysis. Call it that. All it is basically scoring the tweets that you get. It's the additional step that normally you would have done manually, but we can now layer AI into the equation to do exactly that. Another approach is the influencer approach. So you can actually dig for influencers that are already growing, already have a high follower engagement route, and reach out. The rising tide raises all boats. So that's something I'll be doing and deploying in real active time, and it'll be really exciting. Another piece of information you can dig for is follower counts. So seeing what are the giants in the space, what are the quote-unquote whales, the heavy-foots, the big-foots, I guess, big feet. The ones that are making the waves. You can dig for those. Another monitor we can set up is a sort of topic fetcher. So something as broad as AI, there's a number of like smaller funnels you can kind of tap into. This helps us identify that, which is really useful when you're really trying to figure out who you can problem solve and who you can help the most. The other one is creating a profile list within a specific, narrow funnel. So say we found a funnel that has a lot of cool people that, we really want to reach out to. Instead of DMing them all individually, this creates a little contact list for you. There are a few practices I should mention as well in terms of rate limiting, all that fun stuff, which I'll dive into when we build this live. So yeah, stay tuned. In the next episode, we'll crack open the actual no-code tools and show you how to do this live. Till then, we'll see you in the next one.